I'd like us to talk about the education system in Arua. The problems are cross-cut all over, this whole sector, in the whole country. But I want to specifically touch Arua district. And we know that there are increasing universities here, increasing secondary school. UP is all over the country. USE is in some districts. But we want to ask today the general performance of schools and how to improve the education levels in Arua district. I'd like to start. I see a couple of young men here. What classes are you in? Are you still in school?
I was schooling in Arua Secondary, but I just dropped from senior 3 due to the problems of some school fees. Though Arua Secondary is a USE school, but we have very many challenges there.
Right.
Even though the money they told us to pay was 60,000 per term, but that one is for meal. But whenever you don't pay, you don't eat, and yet you're going to pay the money. That was a challenge I faced there.
What are some of the nice schools here, the schools that you consider A class in Arua, whether primary or secondary? Yes.
There's one, Arua Hill, we have just passed.
Arua Hill.
A primary school. Then there's St. Joseph School in Jompachi, about 4 miles outside.
Then our Muni Girls.
Yeah, Muni Girls Secondary School.
Then we have secondary school.
Mvara, yes.
Then there's Ethiopia Girls across.
There's a what?
Ethiopia Girls.
What makes you say that these schools are very good?
Well, they have the facilities required, like the laboratories are well furnished, they have libraries, they have teachers, full-time teachers.
Yes.
And their quality of food is equally good. So it is a matter of now the students playing their part.
The most important thing is performance.
Yes.
If we don't see results from any school coming out, we don't consider that as a good school. Each year the results come out, the school has given first graders. This is second grade. That one is a good school. We don't like to let people. We don't see what is happening inside there, but what we want is performance. Yes.
The more first grades,
but nowadays these schools are just, it is history. Some of these schools were mentioning Arua Hill and so on and so on. The days we were in primary, the last person in P7 will be in the second grade. But nowadays you get 2 or 3 person, even 7 in first grade, the rest. So these schools are just history.
They are
because they just stay with their names.
Because you don't find the problem is the teachers are not motivated. You find these teachers are the borders on the roadside. These border men, you are seeing their teachers. They are running away from those banks. So if they are not in class,
okay. Let's listen to one person at a go.
Yes, according to me, one of the biggest challenges of education here in Arua is actually the cost. The cost of education is fairly high for the ordinary person here. People's earnings are not so big enough to enable them to support their children by paying their fees. For example, my son or brother here could drop out of school with the school fees of 60,000 shillings.
Yeah, I find that very little.
Yes, that
And even then, that
really affordable.
That is a USE school.
The cost of education is so high for the ordinary person.
60,000 shillings in a universal secondary education.
That is feeding fee.
That is feeding fee.
Although what he said is also true, that the teacher factor,
they are not motivated.
As of now, the teachers are
You
still
sound like a teacher.
Yes.
I was saying that in the past few days, due to the aspect of motivation, teachers boycotted classes.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the factors that can easily lead to poor performance. Because 2 days lost is a great day in the life of a teacher and a student, because the gap left will be wide and you cannot cover that in a very short time. And so that is one of the challenges. Teacher motivation is low.
Right.
2, the children, the attitude towards learning has drastically declined, and they rather go for these petty jobs since there are many bodabodas here, somebody will say, I will better go and ride bodaboda so that I get quick money.
I think bodaboda, the money is more than what teachers are getting. A day a bodaboda can get 20 or 30,000 if you're riding motorcycles. But you see a teacher, how much is this teacher getting in a month? And you find even the authorities around.
Let's listen to one person, please.
They even don't support them when they go on strike. Our RDC on red paper yesterday, I saw him comparing the hard work of pub attendants to the teachers and so on. So we even don't know why our children are not performing. If you go to public universities, there are very few who are taking on government sponsorship from this region.
Right.
And we don't see, we are closing our eyes. We wait in the future. Everybody who's going to work here are going to be from somewhere. Because we are going to lag behind.
And I've already seen most of the people we have talked to this past few days. They are from Kampala. When they say, I say like, hey, guy, you speak very good Uganda. What are you doing here? And they are working here. And if you're a person who is in Kampala and you are coming from Arua, tell us why you chose to go to Kampala and not to Arua. There are good schools here. Why did you choose to go there? Yes, madam.
Arua is highly populated. We have a population growth rate of 3.5%, and we have 700 persons in Arua, and that's a big population. When we grew up, we started here.
Sabo Kamila is the head of social services in Arua. This is what he tells us about the education systems, and when we come back, we'll look at ways to improve education in Arua district. Look at this.
We have about 295 primary schools. And then we have about 35 government-aided secondary schools in Arua. With the private and community secondary schools, we have almost 100. We have enough teachers because we have teacher training institutions within our region. One teacher is to 60 pupils. This is the allocation they've given us. We have already filled that. We lost one complete generation during the war when people were in exile. It means that many of the parents that we have now are people who did not go to school. As a result, they are now parents of most of the children that we have. Now we have the challenge of keeping these children in school. As a result, you see that our performance has not been good, especially in terms of first grade. But in terms of aggregate passes, if you look at last year, 88.9% of them passed. Passed meaning that at least they were able to get aggregate 28. So our concern is the quality of the grade. We have facilities that we use to try to encourage these students to keep the pupils so that we can keep testing the ability, we can keep testing of their how much they have absorbed every time, and we think that this is going to improve the performance. But we see what is a serious gap is food. So most of our families in this region, in Arua, don't have food security, meaning that they can even have that meal once a day is a hard way. And then our challenge again is the rain pattern. We used to have 3 seasons in a year, okay, but now we have only 1 season, which is from July. So it is from July that will be even rain, maybe up to the first week of November, and that's when this is now the period for production. And sometimes this period affects the education. The children are forced to go and dig, and the attendance in the schools as you go now is low because children are forced to go and dig because food is a necessity. So these are the things that affect our education.
I think some of Camilo's comments are the right comments. You know, expenditure on food is higher than expenditure on education. So you find that people think more about food than thinking about education.
Can you study without eating?
Yes. So the biggest thing they think about is the food. then education later. And they prefer to take these children to schools where they can be able to afford. Schools like Mvara Secondary School, Ombachi, Mundi Girls, their fees is relatively higher. But despite that fact, when compared to their own countries, these are nothing.
I have an issue. We developed the district population action plan. In the district population action plan, we came up with the district issues, population issues that attack people, that make people remain poor, that make people not come out of poverty. One of the issues came out, one of it is just high school dropout rate. And that one came as an issue number 4. You see the retention rate of a girl in P7. From primary there are so many girls, but in P7 there are now only 17% of the
dropout rate is high.
Then another issue was early pregnancy. I don't know what is happening in our generation today. Who does this tolerate and study up to a certain rate? But majority of the girls, you see,
They give up.
Do girls usually get
do you know
married off?
what beats my understanding? If we look at this world today, we're living in an era of AIDS, HIV and AIDS. What I would expect normally is that the girls would fear the big men saying, looking at any man as a man who has HIV and AIDS. Then there should be fearing to go into live sex. But the percentage of people dropping out of school, especially the girls, is so high. If you cannot educate a woman, if a woman cannot stand on her feet, then the future is doomed.
But if you keep saying that, and your mother, I hope, are you? Do you think your daughter would drop out, would get pregnant? Do you think your daughter would get pregnant in a school now?
Peer influence.
That's why I'm asking you. Do you think your daughter is capable?
There's a lot of peer
Don't you think it's partly, or even almost all your fault as a parent? Why are we pointing fingers at these kids?
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
We are girls and we are mothers who went through the same system. But now I tell you, the children today are so adamant. When you try to warn them and tell them, please, issues are like, they say, that was your time, that was your generation. We are in the
Right. I imagine you telling my mother that is your problem. She will fix you. So I think it's how you have brought them up, what they have seen as you grew up, or probably they've heard that at your age you also got married at 15. So what are you saying? I also get married.
Hold on to